James O'Keefe with Project Veritas.com joins us in, I think it's I was amazed watching the video clips, and that was some of the, just an amalgam of the footage that we had played there, just a collection of it that we had played there, where James went to different gun stores, different FFLs around New York to simply purchase a shotgun. And every single one of them told him that he was denied and that he was listed as a prohibited possessor, despite the fact that he has never, ever been convicted of a felony. In fact, he's never been convicted of anything for which the minimum penalty is the year in jail, etc., which would place one in a prohibited classification. And James joins us on the phone right now. James, welcome to the show, and excellent work on this, by the way. Unfortunately, not total congratulations, because you've been denied your Second Amendment right.
Thank you, Dana, for raising awareness to this issue. I know it's something that you're passionate about. And yes, I've sued the FBI in New York State. For those listening, obviously this has nothing to do with New York or Florida or any state. This is a federal list, the NICS list. The FBI has illegally placed me on a federal watch list designed to preclude convicted felons from purchasing a firearm. And the FBI has falsely claimed that I'm convicted of a felony. We've inquired, we've gone through the process of getting an answer on this, and it's because they have placed me on that list that labels me a felon by law. So I'm suing, and I'm sure, Dana, there's probably thousands of other people that are also placed illegally on a list but don't have the means or the wherewithal to fight it the way that I am and get the publicity the way that I'm getting. And if you look at those tapes from the gun stores, you'll see the clerks just shocked and amazed that I've been placed on this list. So obviously I'm doing a lot of good big stories right now, and we're going to release stories in September and October on voter fraud and many other things. And I want to purchase this shotgun to protect myself and my loved ones, and I can't do it.
Yeah, no, you can't. And you can't do it at a time when national unrest, I don't think we've ever seen such tension, and we haven't seen such soaring homicide numbers in quite some time. You bring up something very interesting, and we're talking with James O'Keefe of ProjectVeritas.com. Because when you look back, I look at the VP who's running for the Democrat Party has the nomination, running for president. I think this was back in like 2016, 2017. And Joe Biden was doing an interview with media, and he was asked about people who fraudulently fill out those 4473s, the one that you honestly filled out and submitted when you were when trying to buy a shotgun. And he had told the press at the time that we just don't have the time or the resources to prosecute everyone who fills out a 4473 and when fraudulently fills it out. And when I went and I looked at numbers for 2009, and John Lott over at crimeresearch.org has done a really good deep dive on this, looking back multiple years, you would have thousands of initial denials, and the vast majority of those were actually false positives, because apparently the criminal background check system isn't as stringent as, say, just a regular criminal background check that businesses would perform. Because, James, if you were trying to apply for a job somewhere and you were turned away because, say, a prohibited or a felon's name was similar to yours, you would actually be able to file suit. That would be, everybody would be all over that. But for some reason, because it's the Second Amendment, it's treated less than. Do you suspect, as I and others do, that this is kind of like a backdoor way to not only fully undermine not just the system, but also as a way to say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be able to bear arms anyway. We're just not able to actually verify the people who are trying to make the purchase.
Yeah, Congress has abdicated their responsibilities to the so-called administrative state, right? The agencies and apparati that we don't vote for these bureaucrats. They're just there forever. And I know that going through it in some type of appeals process might take months or years. God knows if they ever get back to me. Certainly they won't get back to me by September. Yeah, precisely. So when I got an attorney and asked why the FBI had denied my ability to purchase a firearm, the FBI did disclose that I am identified in the FBI's NICS list as a convicted felon under 18 U.S.C. 922 G1. Mm-hmm. This is patently false. I've never been convicted of a felony or any other crime defined on that form, Dana. I think it's a violent misdemeanor. Have you ever had any history of mental illness, these sorts of things.
Right.
I've never had that happen. So the guy at the clerk said, this is very unusual, comes back immediately, they got you on something. So the answer to your question is, yeah, I think these agencies don't care. It's just an administrative state that exists to, basically you're in limbo, and an answer never comes back to you, and that's why I fight them. And the clerk in upstate New York said to me, his name was Ray, and he said, unless you go after them, unless you put fire under their butts, nothing will ever happen. You have to go after them. The only thing they respond to is power. They don't respond to reason. They don't respond to patience. That's the last thing you should do. So I'm like, screw it. I'll file a lawsuit. Like literally in a few days, we filed this lawsuit. And but what attorneys tell me, Dana, gun attorneys tell me that this is a pretty open shut case. Like my name should be taken off the list in the next 60 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's good. The scary thing is that you're James O'Keefe and you have the ability to really publicize this. Whereas, say, you just have like a regular middle class average Joe who doesn't have, Project Veritas, and he doesn't have the social media platform, and he can't go out and just grab an attorney. What were you told about the recourse that regular people have if their name is erroneously put on this list and they're deprived of their rights?
Some type of you probably know more about this than I do, but you can appeal it. You can appeal the decision on the NICS, and again, from what I've read and heard, that takes months, if not years.
And a lot of money. A lot of money. Yeah, there was one guy's story I read. He spent over $5,000 trying to get his name cleared because his case was very similar to yours, and he spent something like $5,000 to get his name off the list.
Maybe what patriots need to do. I hear what you're saying is that people don't have the publicity. But whatever it is, I think this thing, $10,000, which is so much money, and most people don't have that type of money, and to fight this in court. And my point is that I think patriots need to somehow rise together and do something, even if it's in small to medium-sized numbers. This is the bottom line. The only way that this sort of corruption and malfeasance, which is becoming less shocking day by day, the only way we can fight these people is to stand up together and just do what it takes to fight them. Maybe it's 100 lawsuits. Maybe it's 1,000 lawsuits, Dana. But not just me, but many people need to realize that the only thing these people respond to is power. That's why I don't settle lawsuits. I fight. When people sue me and I'm in the right, I don't settle. And when the FBI puts me on a list erroneously, maybe because it's an error, I hope, but probably because they're targeting me for political reasons, I fight. And that's what we as American citizens need to do. And if Project Veritas can be a vehicle for people in any way, if you will work for one of these agencies, for example, we have people inside Google and the Department of Justice and other powerful interests that are seeing this sort of targeting, you can contact us at veritastips@protonmail.com. And we can strap a camera to you and expose what these people are doing. Because if there's one thing that the communists fear more than anything else, it is being exposed.
And I know that there are people who are in some of these positions in government that do listen, and I hope that because this is the time when people need to make the choice. I mean, we are unfortunately at that threshold. Do you go in or go out? We're at that point. Let me ask you this, and last question for you. We're talking to James O'Keefe, ProjectVeritas.com. He's filed a suit against the FBI because they've fraudulently listed him as a prohibited possessor. How many you were never sent any notice that you were now ineligible to legally purchase a firearm, correct?
That's correct.
So most people, and I'm curious, when you look at the number of initial denials that are out there and which are false positives, and the number of people who are erroneously placed on lists because their names are just similar enough to someone who's really is ineligible, it makes me wonder how many people out there may be in the same position but just don't even know because they've never been notified.
That's correct. That's the real story here. Is it's not about just me. It's the thousands of people who don't even know that they're on this list. But Dana, in my case, my own government in 2015, put me on some type of list when I travel. When I was at the border, Customs and Border Patrol and the Department of Homeland Security had me detained at my border when I was coming in and out of Canada and other countries. And on the screen, because I was not supposed to see this, but I peeked over at the screen, and the Customs and Border Patrol agent had a screen that said, quote, "Subject is an amateur reporter, an amateur journalist who engages in publicity stunts designed to embarrass the government," unquote. Now, this was blatantly unconstitutional. It was so unconstitutional that when I published my little YouTube video where I quoted the screen, within days I got taken off that list. Within days.
Wow.
This is 4 years ago. There was even a guy at the Washington Post named Jerry Markin, who's now no longer is at the Post after the paper has become a liberal, woke, clickbait rag. But this was a guy who actually called the Department of Homeland Security and asked them, why the hell did you put James O'Keefe on this list? Taken off in a day. So again, my point is, I've been targeted before by my government because I'm a journalist and I investigate corruption that you know what the newspapers are supposed to do, but the newspapers don't do it. And my point is, the only thing they respond to there was exposure.
Right.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I hope that other people, this NICS issue, I just became aware of this. It's disgusting. It's disgraceful. If anybody deserved to own a firearm, it would be an employee of Project Veritas, because we are the types of people that these people are trying to come after and hurt. And I don't know what to do in this country but expose them. I don't know if there's any other recourse. I mean, I'm not even sure the courts are ultimately going to work. I think it's about showing people the nature of our administrative state and the bureaucracies therein and how they are trying to hurt Americans' rights in their own words. We have to expose them. That's our mission. Again, it's Veritas, Veritas, tips at protonmail.com. We got hundreds of these people to reach out to us, and we're the only organization in the country that provides the service of giving them these little cameras and telling their stories and defending them. And I hope this lawsuit in the Second Amendment community inspires some people to get involved in that.
I hope so too, and I think this story is going to strike a chord with a lot of individuals. And I'm, again, we're talking with James O'Keefe, ProjectVeritas.com, one of the few entities out there that still practices journalism and watches out for the people instead of just performing propaganda for the state. James O'Keefe, we're going to watch this case, and I know we're going to be talking with you again. Please keep us apprised of any developments. And hopefully, I hope that you do get someone within the FBI or ATF or someone who runs and helps oversee the system at NICS. I hope that someone does reach out to you with some information and we can finally take care of some things regarding people's rights and stop this witch hunt by administrative officials. It's awful. James O'Keefe, Project Veritas.
Could be someone in your audience.
Could be.
Thank you.
Maybe.
Thank you, Dana, very much.
Of course. Take care.